Hey Corey, you're definitely on the right track, buddy. There's one thing, and it's kind of like semantics in a problem like this. It really has very little to do with the math, in my opinion. Now, when you start visualizing this, if you were actually to kind of plot these out, and I'll show you that in a sec, we actually get a cosine graph. When you look at it, it's a cosine, right? It's starting at a minimum or a maximum. It's not starting at the origin. So because the question asks for a sine graph, that's where we get our phase shift of pi over 2. And you can kind of prove it to yourself. Here I have, I'll just turn this off, but here I have sine x, right? Good old standard sine x. Starts at the origin, goes up to a nice maximum, right? Comes down. And the cosine of that is the same deal, right? So you can turn them off. There's cosine in red. They're the same thing. So that's how sine and cosine are related. It's because it has a phase shift of 90 degrees or pi over 2 radians. So when we take a look at our graph, I'll just bring this up for you here, and we go along and start plotting points, we know a couple of things, right? The 12th month, here we are over here, the 12th month in December, we get a minimum. Now this is not scale, so take all this with a grain of salt. At 6 months, we get the maximum. We have 14 hours. And if we think about what the months represent, here's month 1, which is January. Well, month 0 would be 12 again, right? Because that's how months go. It's December, then January. They don't just stop ever. They keep kind of repeating. So instead of 0, we really have month 12, which again is 10 hours of daylight. So you can see if we make this kind of smooth curve, excuse my poor artwork, but we can see that this is clearly a cosine curve, right? It starts at the maximum, or minimum in this case. So because the question asks for a sine, we have to put in that negative, like c is going to equal negative pi over 2, right? That's going to be our phase shift right there. And then again, as you quite rightly pointed out, let me get rid of that. As you quite rightly pointed out, the midpoint here is going to be 12, right? That's halfway between the max and the minimum. So basically that's your vertical shift. This whole thing, this whole graph is shifted up 12 units. So good job, buddy, on that. That's just where it comes from. In my opinion, it has little to do with the math and more about the semantics of the question. If you have any other questions, just let me know. Thanks.